Is the law of attraction real? That's a fair question, isn't it? After all, every two-bit mystic and life coach or even a spiritual guru on the internet these days is forever telling the world to think positively and you will attract what you want. Well, is it as simple as that?
No, definitely not.
In this video, I'll explain what the law of attraction is, what it says, and how it's supposed to work. We'll talk through, using logic and cold hard facts, whether thinking positively really can bring good things into your life. And also, I'll discuss the side of the law of attraction that people don't tend to talk about much, the dark side of the law of attraction. The rules that state that if you're negative, you'll also attract bad things to you.
They're good at pooping.
So is any of this real? Find out. Click that like button, subscribe, ding the bell, and let's get cracking. But first things first, what is the law of attraction? Well, it's a basic enough concept. The idea is that whatever you send out into the universe comes back to you. A more complicated and pseudoscientific answer is that thoughts have a vibrational energy, and thinking about something creates a vibration in the fabric of the universe. It resonates. That resonance causes whatever you've thought about to become entangled with you, and that's a term borrowed from quantum physics, by the way. Now, I'm not going to get into too much science here. Perhaps I could do that in another video, but for now, just know that the law of attraction can work to attract anything you think about. But as we'll see later though, that does work for stuff that's good and bad. But does it work? What's the evidence that it's anything more than just lucky people or happy coincidence? Well, now here's where it gets really interesting. Rhonda Byrne's very, very successful book, The Secret, which talks exclusively about the law of attraction, discusses various theories for how the law of attraction may work. She talks about quantum physics and cites everyone from Newton to Einstein. And the theory is that matter and energy are the same. Well, okay, bravo, so far so good. But I'm still not convinced, and neither should you be, that thinking about something on its own will bring it to you. There is some pretty solid reasoning, though, why being positive does have a beneficial power. Regardless of whether you believe in magic, that's almost irrelevant to the fact of the matter. And here's why. Even if it is all utter nonsense and the law of attraction is just a huge con or a waste of time from a spiritual point of view, there is empirical evidence to show that being positive is a good thing. Dr. Richard Wiseman of the University of Hereford in the UK wrote a book called Quirkology. It's a really good book, by the way, really funny. Read about it down in the comments. But it's about the weird quirks that we humans display. And one such quirk is the belief in powers beyond our control. We may call this good luck or bad luck. So Dr. Wiseman did a series of experiments to see if lucky people were really lucky. He asked participants to fill in a survey explaining how lucky or unlucky they were. The experiment being over, or so the participants thought, they were then permitted to leave. But this was a ruse. This was just the beginning of the real experiment. When they left the building, an actor would intercept them as they walked home and drop a £50 note on the floor in front of the participant. Lucky people, or rather those people who considered themselves lucky in the initial survey, would find the money and pick it up. Unlucky people, or rather those people who said that they were unlucky when filling out the survey, would either give the money away almost immediately by either taking it to the nearest authority figure or asking a stranger if it was theirs. They might take it to a police officer or the desk of a nearby bank or hotel to report it as missing or found. Or, even weirder, they literally wouldn't see it. They would just walk on by. They'd often stand on it. In that experiment, though, the participants had the same chance of being lucky because the experimenters deliberately gave them the same opportunity to find that £50 note. The ones who thought that they were lucky were lucky. The ones who thought they were unlucky were unlucky. Now, this is nothing to do with the opportunity or even the luck, and all to do with the outlook or the mindset of those participants. So, even if the law of attraction is utter nonsense, Believing that it works is a useful delusion because it'll give you more opportunities to be lucky. The issue is that humans want to understand the world and feel that they have control over their lives. Often, of course, we don't. But what about manifesting things that seem entirely random? Well, the example that I've cited on this channel before about me wanting a Chesterfield armchair for my magical man cave, again, links down in the description, come to mind. I'll explain the story again briefly for those of you who haven't heard it yet. For those of you who have, skip on to the next chapter. When I was living in Bristol, I went for a walk with my wife, as we often did in the evenings. We were talking about the imminent house move to Devon, where I was going to then have somewhere to build a magical man cave. The man cave was designed already, and it was going to look like a wizard pub. I'd use it as a recording studio for this channel, and somewhere to relax as well. So I wanted an armchair that would fit with the vibe. By this point, I'd already drawn the man cave and included a Chesterfield armchair in the colour of oxblood. Yeah, that's what the colour is actually called. And I'd even made a 3D model of the same thing, like this. I knew I wanted a Chesterfield armchair, but they were pretty expensive. Yes, I could afford one, but I wanted to spend my money on other stuff. I trusted the universe to provide it, and so hadn't quite got one yet. Anyway, on this walk, I mentioned my plan to my wife, and as we walked, we approached a junction in the road. And normally, at this junction, we would go straight on. But tonight, for some reason, and I don't know why, I suggested to turn left for a change. I really don't know why, but we did go left. I kept on talking about my desire for this Chesterfield armchair, and about 30 seconds down this new road, I stopped, totally stunned. On the side of the road, clearly being thrown away, was an oxblood red Chesterfield armchair. Yes, it needed a little bit of work to the springs, but other than that, it was pretty much perfect. I asked at the house, and it was definitely going for free, and I practically ran home to get my car so I could pick it up. I added new coasters to the bottom of the chair, and I did a bit of upholstery stuff, and added new springs, but it's now as good as new, and it only cost me less than £50 for the whole thing, which is a huge saving. For me, the biggest and weirdest thing was I was talking about it directly before seeing it. Now, from a logical point of view, I can rationalise that this was the same road that I used to drive home from work. So perhaps my unconscious mind had spotted the armchair on the way home. Perhaps my conscious mind had missed it, but talking about it that evening maybe gave me a subliminal jolt and told me where to go. I'm not sure. Regardless of how it worked, the effect is the same. So what about negativity? Can being negative attract negative things to you? Well, you probably intuitively know the answer to that too. Negative people, of course, don't tend to have very many friends because people don't like being around negative people. And if you're horrible about something, you'll probably push people away. But more than that, if you think, well, that's never going to happen to me, you'll do all the micro actions that lead to confirmation of your negativity. People would rather be right than happy. In other words, had I just sat in my room thinking, I'm never going to get that armchair, or even if I'd never turned down the new road, turning left instead of going straight on, I'd have never seen and never picked up my armchair. In the book, The Secret, it talks about ditching negative people from your life. Now that's a hard thing to do, but my life has certainly improved since I've done that. I use the law of attraction every day to manifest the things that I want, and it's generally working beautifully. The only thing it doesn't work on is specific people because they've got their own free will. You have no control over whether other people accept or love or reject it, you, or anything that you're trying to do. No control over whether they take your good advice or run their self-destructive choices until they crash and burn. I like to encourage others to see positivity and love and to share the same with the world. I think it leads to a better experience for everybody, and that the power of the law of attraction is a big part of that. So, to answer the question of whether the law of attraction is real, to be honest, it doesn't matter. It works, even if it isn't real. It's best to believe that it is. So,
Free Radical.